Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dev Lounge. This is a bi-weekly developer variety show featuring innovative demos, interviews with inspirational folks in tech, live hacks, and loads more. My name is Nahrin. I'm a developer educator here at Vonage and also host of the show. I am so excited to introduce today's guest to you all, Igor Wojda, over on this side. Igor, thanks so much for joining us.
Happy to join. Happy to be here.
We've already got some excitement in the chat. Paul Beauty Builder Michael says, "Oh my God, it's Igor."
Yeah. The biggest fan.
Yeah, we've got lots of fans already. We've got Exy joining us. Hi, Exy. Thanks for tuning in. For those of you that haven't come across Igor on a previous Vonage Dev stream, he is our Android developer advocate, normally based in Vonage's London office. Today, he's joining us from Poland, which is really cool. And today on this stream, he'll be walking us through how to build a 2FA server with Kotlin and Ktor. Now, Igor, before we dive into the tutorial, I'd love it if you could share a bit more about you. To start, I recently learned that you're actually an early adopter of Kotlin, and you've been an active member of the Kotlin community for a while now. You've done an extensive amount of speaking at conferences about it, and not to mention, you've actually authored a book on Android development with Kotlin as well. Is that right?
Yep, it's correct. You did really good research.
Well, it wasn't hard to find. It was all on your LinkedIn. We've got a few more folks joining us. Hey, Luke. Hello, Hermit Code, Dwayne. So good of you all to join us. So Igor, can you walk us through your journey of first experimenting with Kotlin to where you are now? Were you a fan from the very start, or did it take you a while to actually enjoy developing with it?
It actually, I really like Kotlin from the beginning because like my background is like long time ago, I was working with Adobe Flash and ActionScript, and then I moved to Java, and like ActionScript was this weird mix where basically it was a little bit ahead of Java with some things and a little bit behind with others. So naturally when you switch to a language, there's stuff that is missing. And kind of this was the moment where Android like maybe started slowly migrating to Kotlin. That was this modern development language offering a lot of cool features, a lot of concise code and a lot of things that makes developer life easier. And this was something that I was kind of looking for because this was natural evolution for me.
Mm-hmm. That is so interesting. Okay, cool. So we've got some more folks also tuning in. Great. You're going to hear all about Igor's story, which is a really interesting one. So I'm excited that you made it in time. Michael says, ActionScript was this weird voodoo that only Polish people understood.
No, actually, it's something that they killed recently by Adobe. But not many people know that it has own like virtual Java machine, at least some kind of version of this.
Yeah, no, for sure.
This was the thing why the video exists on the web. This is the main reason.
So as an advocate of Kotlin, what do you feel are some of the biggest advantages of working with it that folks may not be aware of, but might sway them towards actually considering Kotlin for their next project?
I think a really good thing about Kotlin that this is really modern language, and you can really tell it. It's also like developed extremely quickly, so it grows into multiple fronts. Like of course it started mainly with JVM Java backend. Like Java virtual machines. It gains a lot of popularity on Android, especially where we as Android developers were constrained to older Java versions like Java 6 or 7, and Kotlin, school modern language, could be compiled back into older versions. But also it goes into many directions. Nowadays, Kotlin goes into a little bit into scripting, a little bit into multi-platform. So if everything goes well, in some time we should be able to build or at least share some code between multiple like platforms. Let's say you could share business logic between Android, iOS, and JavaScript. Like this is something that everybody wants to have. Like it will probably take us a while, and we will see how this will go. But Kotlin is definitely on a good track to get there.
Great, that's so good to know. No questions about Kotlin in chat yet, but I'm sure we're going to have some of those coming in.
Another good thing about Kotlin is that it really goes. You can really see that they want to create useful language. Like there are some tools that try to put everything into one language, and Scala is a really good example of that, where you can basically do everything in Scala, but because you can do that, there are so many ways to do the same thing that developers are always confused which way is better, what should we do, what shouldn't. And Kotlin kind of learns from those mistakes made by Scala or C Sharp, and as well as learns like all the cool things that were done, discovered, and improved in those languages. So it kind of takes the best of all worlds, but at the same time tries not to put everything into one basket, just to put it.
Right. And that's such a great point that, it's actually taking into account all of the languages that you're familiar using, and kind of taking all the feedback that they received on those and kind of one-upping things and making things hopefully more intuitive and easier to use for developers.
Yeah, exactly. Like not many developers know this, but there are actually a few hundred programming languages. Like some of them are dead, some of them are created just for kind of fun purpose. But there are so many that it's good to, like, you cannot reinvent the wheel, right? You should definitely take what works and leave what's not.
Absolutely. And I guess if folks want more details, a place to be looking is your book, right? Android Development with Kotlin.
I think somewhere, probably somewhere on Amazon. But let me try to share my screen for a while.
Yeah. I'll wait until you've got that up.
Oh, so, ta-da. So, it's actually Polish website. What a surprise!
Perfect. We'll pop an English link into the chat as well.
But the cover looks more or less the same. Now they redesigned it. Now it's gray. I think nowadays, more or less.
I like it. It's the Vonage purple almost. Did you do this? Did you write this while you were working in a full-time job, or is this something that you took some time off to do?
No, actually, I was writing this when I was doing full-time jobs. So it was a challenge, to be honest. It was a big project. It took me and my friend over a year to write this book. And you need to remember that we wrote this book, like we started writing this book even before Kotlin 1.0 was like officially released. So not everything was perfect. There were a lot of like unknowns. Will this technology be alive? Like, will it grow? Will it die? You kind of, you never know what to expect. But this was very promising technology, and we really, really liked it. So, definitely long project. But time passed. As I said to my friend, we can make the decision to write a book or not, but time will pass. So next year we can have a book or not. So
exactly, time's going to pass anyways. You either work on some project that you're really excited about, or you just let it pass. So does that mean that there's plans on writing another book for 2022? Is that kind of what you're hinting at?
Not for now.
Not yet.
No, I like it. It's a very interesting project to write a book, and definitely something that is worth doing. Like from a career path perspective, just to see how to do it. But also, the biggest benefit of this is that you will learn a lot of stuff, especially how to name things in code. So because you just write code daily, and you don't realize, what's the difference between, I don't know, listener and callback, or what is the expression, what is the statement, what is expression statement. Or what is like a lot of terms and a lot of things that you kind of take for granted. But if you write about it, you need to first of all figure out how this thing is named, and second of all, you need to understand what it's doing. And some names are similar. Some concepts have different naming in different programming languages. Some concepts are named the same, but they are different. So you need to figure out a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's something that we say a lot in like developer education in general. Like if you really want to understand a concept, you got to teach other people about it, because then that really cements everything in your brain, and you get such a better understanding, a more comprehensive understanding of the topic, right?
So in my mind, like the complete learning philosophy, like the one of the models I really like is the one that you have those people that are kind of your students. So you are teaching them, right? But then you have people at your level that basically you can chat about problems and current things. But then you also have those your masters and teachers that kind of are ahead of you. And I think those three kind of levels or three groups of people should give you the complete learning environment that should speed up your learning.
Absolutely, that's like a thing that people do now, right? They write blog posts on explaining something to a 5-year-old, explain something to a high school student, explain something to an expert. So I guess it's like another model that people use to better understand
Yeah,
how.
yeah, exactly. Like for a while, I had this kind of idea or block it in my head when I was thinking, why should I write about this? Because like everybody knows that. But the truth is that every year you have so many graduates who just becoming a developer, so many people who never were never coding before. So there is always someone who will read your article or will find it interesting. So it's always worth to share the knowledge, like because people will learn, but you will also like build a solid foundation for stuff.
Of course. And going on that, like even if there is a ton of content on something, that doesn't necessarily mean it's explained in a way that everyone can pick up on and everyone can understand. So it's always good to put your perspective on things and kind of teach a subject the way that you wish it was taught to you.
Mhm.
Because there's learners out there that would really appreciate that and might be able to pick up things from your article that they wouldn't from another.
Yeah, exactly. Another point that we could make here is that even if you read the article or watch YouTube video, you could not many people are just reading this. Maybe they give you the like and this is it. But you can take it one step further, where you could kind of drop a message to the author and say, "Hey, this is nice article or nice video or nice content. I really liked it, and here are the things that I think you could improve." Like, and this really helps. I just did it today to one of the authors of the YouTube video, and then he told me that I was actually targeting a bit different audience. But you're right, like by adding those three things, we could kind of make the audience wider. So
Yeah, yeah. All great points. Kind of sidetracked a little bit, but I always like doing that on the stream.
yeah, let's go with the flow, right?
Exactly.
But we need to build the server at some point.
We do. We'll get to that. Before we do, taking a more personal turn into your own experience, how did you end up as like a Android developer advocate in your current role? Like, is it something you always wanted to do, or is it something that kind of just happened over time based on your interests? Like, how did you get into this role?
Yeah, this is really good story because to be honest, um, I wasn't aware about this role for a long time because this is like quite a new role in IT industry and also quite niche. Like you need to realize that for every few thousand developers, like there's only one advocate, right? So you hear about, oh, I want to be a developer, but like who the heck is advocate, right? So over time you kind of meet those people on the conferences and you're asking them like, again, what are they paying you for? And then you realize, okay, this is actually quite cool position. So at some point, I really wanted to do it, but at the same time, I was always thinking, there will be one day in the future, like in year or two or three, where I will do it, and I was like living with this mindset for a while, and then I applied to the Vonage only because I was curious, and I didn't really expect to get the job there.
Expect a call back.
Yeah, and we started chatting. It was nice. Team was really friendly, and I really liked the idea what they are doing. I liked the environment, and I just got it. Like what definitely helped me was the fact that I'm a curious person. Like I wrote my own book. Like nobody asked me to do that, so of course spent a lot of time on that. Then I made some open source projects that were kind of well explained. On top of that. I wrote articles and I was engaging with communities. So the kind of this role feels like natural extensions of the things I was already doing. And I really felt that like this my presence within the community helped me a lot.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned that it felt like a natural extension. I feel like a lot of folks in developer relations end up feeling that way as well. Like you're already, like aside from the development, you're already doing a lot of things in developer communities that you're really enjoying and you're really passionate about. And then just combining the two, right? The development and then also the community aspect is like the perfect role. It's the ideal role for you then.
Yeah, definitely. You can tell that someone is passionate about the work and things he's doing, because usually those are the people who write articles, right? Or do some extra content or extra projects on the side, right? So
yeah, for sure. So having come into this role, has it lived up to your expectations? Like what's a typical day look like for you? Like what are some of your responsibilities as the Android advocate?
So there is no typical day. every day is different, and we are trying a lot of technologies, a lot of new things, building. So typical, I would say typical tasks, but not typical day.
Right.
We basically read a lot about technology. We need to stay up to date. We are building documentation for our products. Try to improve it. gather the feedback from the community, see what kind of things people are struggling with, so we could improve our documentations, improve our products. So this is it. Basically, we are kind of the customer. Like on the one side, we are customer zero, where we're trying all the products from the company before they go out. On the other, we kind of try to grab a feedback from community and improve our products the best way we can.
Yeah, that's a really great way to put it. For those that might be looking to get into this role or a similar one, do you have any specific advice for them?
Definitely do a lot of things, outside of your work, like create content, write articles, speak on the conferences. Maybe you write a book if you really want to record YouTube videos. Yeah, it's like there is so many possibilities. For a long time I was thinking like I had this mindset where I'm a young developer, like nobody will allow me to speak on the conference, right? And then I realized after going to the conference, like kind of my first talk was in front of 1,000 people in London, so first talk in English ever. So it was a little bit overwhelming, but I made it happen. So then I realized, most of the speakers are not super prepared as I thought before. They are normal people who are stressed like me. And also conferences often this rule where they say, oh, we want to have 40% of new speakers every year, or certain percent of the speakers like needs to be women or men or people from different ethnic, political, or whatever groups.
Right.
So basically, it means that because of this inclusion, it's much easier to get into conference and speak there than you would expect. So I encourage you to like just send call to papers. There are so many IT conferences, especially nowadays. And just do it. So do something extra.
Right, just go for it. Exactly, and do something extra. Doesn't necessarily have to be something like writing an entire book, which might not be possible for everyone, right? People might have other things going on that don't allow for that, but still show that you're passionate about what you're working on and
exactly.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to get into it too.
What often people underestimate is that like how much a little bit extra can actually give you. Like imagine like for 1 year you would like every day you would do 1 hour extra on your IT stuff, like whatever, right? And in 1 year it's a massive difference. Like in 1 hour, let's say you could read 5 articles and understand them, right? So over 1 year you would have almost 2,000 articles read. And this will have an impact on you, on your knowledge, and on your skills. And the same is with everything. Watch one conference video every day, or write one article every week. Like just do a challenge, right? 52 in a year, right? 52 weeks, 52 articles. This will definitely improve your skill as an expert.
Exactly. It's all about making it into like a habit and building a routine around it, right?
Exactly. Find something crazy and just do it. I like my book.
Just like Nike, yeah. So outside of your work at Vonage, are there any projects you'd like to share with us? I know you're particularly involved in the open source community. You do a lot of work there, right? Is there anything you want to give a shout out to?
I have one open source project that is called Android Showcase, which is basically the open source project that demonstrates application of Android architecture where I'm showing how to build an application that has scalable, maintainable, testable architecture that can be like kind of developed over a longer period of time, where I'm putting a lot of frameworks, libraries, best tools, CI setup, and everything around it, just to kind of show you how to connect all those pieces together to build a really good application and kick off the project. So this was my kind of pet project where I was hoping to get like 500 stars. This was my life goal, but I got like almost 5,000. So this is it. And I'm learning a lot from this project because some people are dropping issues or problems, and I'm kind of thinking about things that I would never consider before. So contribution to open source always give you this other perspective that improves your thinking and improves, like, I would say, your way of solving problems.
Yeah, that collaboration and just diversifying thought around it.
You're doing this your perfect best thing you can, and someone shows you this doesn't work in this case, and now your building is destroyed, and you need to rethink your strategy. It's never that bad, but
learning opportunity. Yeah. I actually just posted a link to your project in chat. So if you're interested in checking out ECourse Project, please do so. And
Without leave me a star if you like it.
yeah, I was about to say, give him a star. We earned it. It's a really, really cool project. I'm looking to dive into it further. And lastly, before we get into the tutorial, I always really learn something from this response to this particular question. So I want to make sure we fit it in. What are some things you like to do to keep updated on the latest technologies, and how do you make sure you're continuously leveling up? Some of that will kind of tie into what you were saying earlier with, consistently doing something, whether it be reading or blogs or writing blogs or doing something like that. But are there any other things that, you like to do to make sure that you're...
I think I'm in a very lucky position because I extremely like what I'm doing, and I'm work at the same time kind of give me some space to learn about new technology and tools. But it's very like the way you learn and the way you stay up to date. It heavily depends on what kind of person you are. So some people like to read articles, others prefer to watch videos, and others prefer to talk. So for me, like the best way is just to talk to other developers face to face, which, let's be honest, nowadays will not happen that often. But second best thing for me is to watch videos from conferences. Like I find them amazing, and usually when it takes a lot of time to prepare high quality presentation on the conference, usually they say like 1 minute of video takes 1 hour of preparation. So you kind of get the best of the best. The authors give you the best kind of essence of experience with essence of knowledge, like in 30 minutes. So you would get to the same conclusions, but probably will take you much longer. So I found this the best kind of concentrated piece of knowledge.
That's great advice. Which conferences do you like watching the videos for? Like, which ones do you like keeping up with?
To be honest, I'm Android developer when I work on Kotlin. So those are kind of conferences I'm watching, focus on Android, like DroidCon or Mobile Optimized. On Kotlin, like there was Kotlin Conf for a while, but this year it was suspended due to COVID. So basically conferences that interest me personally. Nowadays we are fortunate because there is like almost every conference. I'm probably maybe even almost every conference is putting like much stuff online. So conference happens, we wait a week or two. Okay, Google, stop. Sorry, my Google Home is harassing me. So I got distracted. Okay, so we got this essence, right? So a week or two after conferences, we basically get those videos uploaded to YouTube. So then once a while, you will get like 20, 30, 50, or 100 hours of video to watch.
Right.
There's a lot of content there.
So you just space it out. Yeah, I love that everything is a lot more accessible nowadays. Content, you get to attend any conference technically that you have.
There is so much stuff that I have another repository where basically I'm just putting list of links to video playlists from Android and Kotlin conferences.
Yeah.
So because there's so much stuff, and it's kind of it's became more and more difficult to kind of have everything in one place. It's kind of distributed. So most conferences are uploading to YouTube, but for example, DroidCon, I think they are uploading to their own portal, their own site. So
right.
So it's not that easy to find something, especially from like a year or two ago. So I'm keeping
a little bit of research, essentially, right? Hunt for it if you're really interested in that.
Yeah, but usually, what happens is you watch one video, you have so many references that you are gone for a week.
You're good for a while. We have a question in chat, actually. It's a question on Android development. Can Android apps run on a Chromebook?
Good question. So I'm not sure about that, to be honest, but I think the Chromebook, I think you can run Android apps on Chromebook, but I don't think you can run them in native way. I think it's kind of through Android emulation or something like that. And as I remember, there are some edge cases where the app needs to be a little bit kind of designed for a Chromebook. So for example, right, in phone, you would have two cameras, back camera and front camera. In Chromebook, you have only one. So some apps require extra treatment to make them work. But I think most of the applications should work through emulation, but natively, I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I don't have a Chromebook.
All right. Well, hopefully that puts you on the right track, Michael. Let us know if you have any other questions. All right, amazing. Thanks so much for sharing so much about yourself and that excellent advice, Igor. We do have a lot we want to cover today with building a 2FA server. So how about we get started on that now? That sound good?
Let's start.
Perfect. So if you're ready, I'm going to share your screen. And there we go.
Okay, let's go. So today we will be building a server that will kind of serve as a two-factor authentication server. So we will use for this few technologies. So one of them will be, of course, Kotlin language. Yep. The other one will be Ktor framework, and the third one will be Vonage SDK. So there is no Kotlin SDK, but fortunately Kotlin is interoperable with Java. So basically every library that was designed for Java can be used for Kotlin. So that's why we'll use Vonage Java SDK for Kotlin. This is one of the cool features in Kotlin where you can basically it's not just new language where everything has to be rewritten, but it reuses basically everything that was done for Java for many years. So and having this interoperability of the languages, you would be able to have a Java project where you just add Kotlin classes to it and like migrate your project over time. So we will use IntelliIDEA IDE. Of course, I have it, but I just want to show you. Oops, sorry, IntelliIDEA IDEA. Yeah, so there are two versions. There's like Ultimate, which is paid, and there is Community Edition. So Community Edition is enough, so you can just download it here and run it. Of course, I have it already, so we can use it. So the only thing that you need to do before your launch, you need to go to those settings, and there should be. So sorry, my screen is. Oh, sorry, here it is changed. So we have a plugin. So the only thing that needs to be done after launching the IntelliIDEA is to install Ktor plugin. So it shows that it's obsolete because they are changing the plugin. They are rewriting it right now. So there is a new version that is currently in early access program. So in some time this will be deprecated fully, and the other one will be created. However, it doesn't really matter, like, because what this plugin does, it just set up the project, so puts all the files in place, so you can start writing code. So it will be very similar in new version of plugin. Okay, so we start with creating a new project. Okay, so this time we'll choose Ktor project, and as far as I remember, you can leave everything on default.
Okay.
Maybe you need this. No, but I don't think so. Okay, let's take the default.
Stick with the default for now.
Yeah. And let's call it Ktor 2FA app. And let's wait for the Gradle to download everything. So by default, this Ktor plugin like configures everything to use Gradle. So Gradle is a build script. Build script tool is like similar to Maven or Ant, where basically you have these configurations usually in build Gradle files that describes how the project should be built and what kind of libraries should be used within the project, what versions of the libraries, and maybe what kind of versions you want to build. You want to build release version or debug version. So basically, this deals with a lot of things around building your project.
Right. And I know that you actually wrote a blog post for the Vonage Learn platform a while ago on the right way of using Gradle dependencies. Yeah, so I'll actually link that in chat in case anyone's interested in learning more about that.
Yeah, check my project. I'm discussing there some stuff regarding locking dependency versions and update them. Because if you have dependency that has a single version, it's quite easy to update. But then as project grows over time, so you may have 10, 20, or even more dependencies. So that keeping up with the versions takes some time. So there are multiple strategies to deal with that. So go to the Vonage blog and read my blog post about Gradle.
Awesome.
Yeah. So first thing to do after after this project is created, we should probably try to build the project. Okay, it's done. Looks like. So now the source of the project should be in this application KT file, which is basically Kotlin class that is used to define a Ktor application. So you can click on this arrow close to the main function and just click run. So this should deploy our application, and when we copy this URL and open it in the browser, nothing of course will happen. Oh, it's 0, 0. Okay. So because the Ktor application by itself does nothing, so we need to kind of create it. Ktor is basically in this context, it's HTTP server. It can also be used as a client, but we will just use it as a server for now. So for our application to actually do something, we need to define some routing. So we define this using Kotlin kind of DSL syntax.
Okay. Would it be possible to make your font size a little bit larger, Igor?
This is a good question. I think more or less they will be the same. Maybe if you include Kotlin runtime, you will get some overhead, like 1 or 2 megs. I don't remember exactly, but nowadays it doesn't really matter. From the server side application perspective, it doesn't matter. For the mobile, usually the size is more important because we download this application over 4G or 5G networks or even older ones, so the application install time and download time have a difference. But for server, I would say, unless it takes few gigs, you're good. Of course, I'm over saying that, but it's not that important here. Okay, so we will define the first endpoint just to see that our application is working.
Great. And can we actually zoom in a little bit while we're at it?
Okay. Let me try to zoom in. I try to find a balance between seeing any code on the screen.
Yeah. Okay, that looks a lot better to me.
Okay.
Hopefully that's good. Let us know in chat if not, and we'll try.
We'll zoom even more. So I have 20 lines of code on my screen.
Yeah, it's taking up your entire screen. All right, great.
Yeah, don't worry. It's important for you for everybody to see it properly. So we'll just create simple endpoint that will respond with simple text. So we'll say QFA app is running, and of course this will be we should define the type of the content, which in this case will be. Okay, let's see the imports. I think it should be good. Content type, it should be text, okay, and HTML. So now when we rerun our application, I'll show it again. I need this window to see. Okay, was it that fast? So now let's try to. So now we open the application in the browser. So basically 00 is it's the same as localhost.
Localhost.
That. So we have exactly the same. So this is our application running. So the routing that we defined is basically means that this is the main top level URL in the application. So now when we know that our application is running, we will create additional endpoints. So what our application will be doing is it will create two-factor authentication. What it means in practice is that we'll probably not build the client today. We'll only build a server, but maybe I will show you later how the client is working. But just to demonstrate the idea how it will work in practice, I will try to present it now. So basically, imagine you have a client that enters that installs the applications on the phone and want to validate or verify his or her phone number. So the client would enter the phone number on the phone and click some kind of send button, and then we would hit the first endpoint in our application that we would define, that would be called verify number, where basically client will pass the phone number to be verified by Vonage API. Then we will store some kind of response for this verification. We could store it on the application, but just for simplicity, we'll store it kind of on the client side. And then what will happen? The Vonage SDK will trigger authentication, and SMS message will be sent to the user, provided with the code, and then user should receive this code and enter this code and send it again to our backend service, which we'll call trigger second endpoint verified code. And within this endpoint, we will basically verify the code that the user sent us with the Vonage API, Vonage SDK again. So this way, we'll have complete mechanism to verify user phone number. This will be clearer in this session, so don't worry, you don't get everything right now. Okay, so we have first endpoint. So now what we need to do, we need to change this Gradle config a little bit to include a little bit more things that we want. So first thing is, of course, Vonage SDK dependency. So we'll add it like together with other dependencies, which are defined here. We have this icon to sync with Gradle, which basically Gradle will download this dependency and allow us to use it in the application code. One more thing that we can do here is that this Ktor plugin is using outdated way to define plugins within Gradle, so we can remove that and include the plugins in new way. This is like new kind of Gradle way to add plugins.
And then, okay, great, good to know.
And we broke something. What did we broke? So I think we'll leave the old way just to keep things faster.
Or feel free to debug this, Igor. I know our viewers love seeing how it happens.
Okay, so let's leave those plugins. So those are the plugins that we need. And I think this may be redundant, if I remember correctly. See? So now let's see if the application is still working. So we run the Ktor application and open our browser again. Okay. So this was the fastest debugging ever.
I know, it's usually not that simple, but we got lucky this first time.
Yeah, exactly. I imagine it wasn't my first time with this particular problem, but we got lucky definitely. So we have our application running, and we have a Vonage SDK. So this means that we can define the second endpoint. So we would do this basically by creating another routing and naming it verify number, like that. And within here we would this is the endpoint that user hits with a phone number that needs to be verified by Vonage SDK. So before that happened, we need to actually create an instance of Vonage client. So we'll define it here. So let's call it client. Give me a second, just need to make sure everything. Okay, so let's call it client. And we'll use the Vonage Java Server SDK to build this client. And I'm hitting option enter to get the dependency here. So the import should be somewhere here. We have Vonage client. And Vonage client, and we will build it using the builder first. So we build it using the builder, and then we need to specify a few things for our API, actually for our Vonage client to work. So first is API key, then it's like API secret, and then we can build client. Of course, those values are not yet filled. So to get those values, we need to actually open dashboard. So, but not this dashboard. We need Nextman. So now we are merging with OpenTalk, and like Vonage is merging with Nextman OpenTalk, so we have multiple dashboards to actually work with. But at some point they will be unified.
Mhm.
So we will go to dashboard Nextmacom, and we'll log into to this dashboard. So in this dashboard, I have created the project. Okay, so this doesn't create the project. So basically, in this dashboard, we have master, which is our API key. So we will copy this master to the project
Mhm.
that we are creating. So let's create new Kotlin class and call it credentials. Credentials. Actually, it will be Kotlin object, which is the equivalent of the singleton in Java. And we'll create API key. API key and API. So we'll copy the API key from our dashboard, and we will have to copy API secret. But for this, we need to stop sharing the screen for a
Yeah,
second.
stop sharing for a second. There we go. Keep the secret secret.
Okay, so give me a second. Okay, now the secret will be secret. Okay, and we can start sharing again.
Sharing done. Perfect. And if you're following along with Igor right now, and you'd like to top up your account with some more euros on your Vonage dashboard, we do have a coupon code at the bottom of the screen that is valid for the next 30 days. So definitely redeem that if you're interested in trying this out.
Exactly. So now we will basically use our credentials that I entered in this object or singleton created just a while before. And we should have the Vonage client basically instance configured here.
Mhm.
So now we will use this instance to kind of to handle the endpoint logic. So this endpoint verify number would be basically called in the browser or within the application. Like that. So we would have like that verify number, and we would have the one argument phone number. So this is the way how we would call this endpoint. So now we need to implement this logic. So let's keep this comment here. Just have it. And now first thing of course is to retrieve the phone number argument from the request.
Mhm.
So we can do this by using call parameters. That, and this should give us the access to the phone number sent by query string in this case. Of course, ideally, probably you should send it using maybe you should send it using post, but it's just for simplicity. Or maybe not even post, because this request actually returns the value. Okay, so we have the phone number, and we should start verification process. So we'll define the variable I'm going to verify. Verify, which is basically client. We use the next client. We'll use the verify client and verify method, and we'll pass the phone number. That actually should be named phone number. So I'll rename this variable. And the other parameter for this method is basically the brand. So when you receive the SMS message, it will show you the name of the brand. So in this case, we use Vonage, but typically you put the name of the company of your brand. So the client will see this within the message SMS message board. Okay, so we have this verification, and now the verification returns the ongoing verification data where we can receive the request ID. So request ID is basically the ID within the Vonage SDK or within Vonage services that identify this particular number verification request. So this ID should be stored. So we could retrieve it like that. Look at this ID. So this ID should be ID. I think it could be stored on the server without. There is no need to pass it to the client, but just because we want to keep things simpler, we don't want to hold the session on the server. We don't want to define database here. We just return it to the client. The client will give us this ID back. So to return this ID, we actually need to define a class to store this data. So we define Kotlin data class. In Kotlin, as opposed to Java, you can define multiple classes within one file, which makes things simpler, especially for tutorials like that. So let's say verify number response, and this class will have single fields, which will be request ID, which will be of type string. Typo here. Not here. Right. Here. Yeah, exactly. And we will create new instance of this class. So we basically call it response. Response ID, and we will pass the ID of ongoing request, and we return this response to our we return this response for this request. Response, and we put this response. So so one thing that is important to notice that usually nowadays we don't want to return like pure text without any context. So usually nowadays we would return some kind of structured data like XML or JSON, or maybe even some binary format. So just to make our API nicer, we'll return this response as JSON, and for that we can use some extra libraries that works really well with Ktor.
Okay.
So we'll add some dependencies to our application. So here are our dependencies, and let me copy it from somewhere. Have it. So we are adding two dependencies here. So one is for Ktor serialization. So this basically is dependency that allows Ktor to use this serialization library, and below library is Kotlin serialization library. So advantage of this library is that it's written natively in Kotlin, so it can be run on multiple platforms, like because Kotlin can be compiled to multiple environments, like Java virtual machines based, like Android or usually server-side applications, but it also can be compiled to environments like Raspberry Pi or server-side that is based on JavaScript.
Right.
So it's native Kotlin library. You can it's easier you can reuse it across those different compilation targets versus those Java and Java libraries that you can use in Kotlin. You can only reuse if Kotlin is targeting Java JVM or Java Virtual Machine and runtime.
Okay.
So we have those dependencies. Of course, we'll synchronize our Gradle script. They will be downloaded and added to the project. And those dependencies allows us to do a few things. So first of all, we can annotate our class with serializable annotations. So just this annotation will basically make this response automatically convert into JSON format. One more thing that we have to do is to enable this JSON conversion within Ktor application. So just here in our application, we'll just add one line. And this is it. So now let's try this newly created endpoint. So let's run the application. It's compiling very quickly. So let's see what will happen. So okay. So we have this endpoint. Of course, put it like that. Number enter. Sorry. So let's fix it here from the comment as well. So this should call our endpoint with phone number. Of course, this is fake phone number for now. We just want to see whatever or not the endpoint will respond correctly. So we run this. Oof, and we broke something. Okay, let's make sure. This will be interesting debugging session. So let's kill it, run again, just to make sure we broke it. Let's maybe use other number, maybe this one. Okay, and we have a crash within our application.
Fun.
Okay, request ID cannot be known. So this means that we need to put a breakpoint here and try to debug application, because it looks like Vonage SDK is responding with no requests. So I imagine maybe the fake phone number that we entered was too fake. Let's see. Okay. Yeah.
So do you think it needs to be in a phone number format?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe it doesn't fit the exact phone number format. So this is the response. Yeah. And it says missing parameters. So this is the response from Vonage SDK. So I imagine the phone number needs to be in certain format. So let's try to fake it. You request an or. Oh no, we made a mistake. So because we retrieved the phone number from the query parameter, but this is the name of the parameter. So let's run it again. That's actually we could debug it again. Why not? Make the request. Okay. Open the application. This time the phone number. Okay. This time the phone number doesn't show. Should ideally show you the hint here with the variables, or I display it in the debugger. But of course, not everything is working every time. So for some weird reason, it doesn't work. So we don't see the actual values here, but we can hit play and see what will happen then. So this is the breakpoint that was stopped, and we will just hit play. Open our browser, and still doesn't work. So let's run it again. Okay, let's call this endpoint again. Let's go and again. Request must not be now. Is there a typo here somewhere? Phone number. Let's try to debug this one more time. Maybe this time debugging will magically start working. I'm really not surprised this happens during the live stream. Oh, okay, so we see the phone number here. Okay, good. So this time is the debugging is working. Okay, let's go. Let's step through this code and see what will happen. So we have. Okay, so we have the response. So ongoing response request ID is no invalid parameters. Yeah. So I think the reason why now it's not working, I think we basically fake the number also too much. So let's try to fake it in a way where it's actually will be similar to the existing number. Yeah. So we'll put like 48, which is direction number to Poland, and we'll put 123, 123, 123 number here. Maybe it's let's go even one step further. So we'll put this number. So we received the request ID in a JSON format returned by this endpoint. So at this time the verification process would start if this number would be correct. And the client would receive this request ID and SMS message. So basically now, what we'll do now, we have to create second endpoint that where user could enter their code received within the SMS message, and verify this using next one SDK. So we'll create it verify code endpoint, and within this endpoint within this endpoint, we will do some logic to verify the number. So of course, the way we will call this endpoint, it will be similar like here, but we'll call it with the code, with the verified code, right? And we will pass the code argument. So as before, we have to retrieve the value passed of the pass argument. So we can call code. We have a different call parameters, and we use that. And now we will have to verify this against next Vonage SDK. Sorry, I'm always confused with branding change. So
Yeah, takes like this.
just exactly. Okay. Also, because we are working more on the Nexmo side, it's kind of Nexmo every day. So you can easily mistake. Okay, so we verify this. So we use next Vonage client. We need to check, and we will pass. Okay, so we need two parameters this time because we are not storing request ID within the server application. We will be passing it. So we'll be passing this request ID here. Request ID. So we will basically need to retrieve it as well. The parameters. Now within the check method, we will pass the request ID and the code that user received. And this will basically generate some kind of response from Vonage SDK. Actually, this check response name, it's a type which basically describes the response from Vonage SDK. So what we are interested now in there are like multiple response codes, but we are interested just to keep things simple, like whatever or not this response was correct, was valid. So we are interested in single state. So let's check if the code was properly, the phone was properly verified.
Okay.
So nice. Okay, let me write it the longer way. So let's do that. Let's define the status. Number type, but we'll figure it out soon. So if our check response is equal to OK, this means that our status should be OK. Think now I know. That. So now we can assign this value. Otherwise, so if the response will be anything different, then OK, we'll assign error to that. So of course you have, like when you go here to the list of the statuses, right? When I go back, we have many more. They're like much more granular because a lot of things can happen during verification process. But for the simplest case, we are interested is it fine or anything else. So one of the nice Kotlin features is that it allows to use if as an expression, not as a statement. So in Java, you would have to define this variable before the if block and assign the values. But in Kotlin, we can actually if can return the value because it's treated as an expression. So we can actually do that.
Okay, that's nice.
Actually, even without this and without this. So this is possible if every block within the if statement is returning the value. So this way, last line of the block will be assigned to this variable.
Right.
One of the nice small Kotlin features.
Yeah.
So now after doing verification, we'll need to generate another response for the user. So we'll have verify code response. That of course doesn't exist yet. So let me pass status here. So we'll create this class now, verified response somewhere below our previous response class. Create a class, verify response code, and this class will store a single variable status. It will be a type string, of course. And of course, we want to mark it as serializable, so it will be converted to JSON. So we have this response, and we will return it as a response for the request. Okay, so now we used Vonage SDK to Surface SDK to verify the number. We'll check if this is working correctly in a minute. One important thing to notice here is that we're starting this verification using the provided method by SDK. And one question which may arise here is like, why don't we just send SMS using Vonage SDK? Because we could also do that. So instead of using this built-in mechanism, we could just send SMS message to the user and store the code somewhere in our application, then get it from the user, compare those codes, and verify the number. And the good reason to use built-in mechanism within the Vonage SDK is that it provides verification workflows. So in this case, it will use the default workflow, which means that we'll send SMS message to the user. And if the user doesn't enter the code within, I think it's 16 or 1 or 2 minutes, I don't remember the exact number, then the Vonage API will make a call to the client, to the user, to this phone number, and we'll synthesize the code to the user. So in a case where user don't receive SMS message, which as we know sometimes can happen due to multiple reasons, we have this fallback mechanism to deliver the code to the user.
Right.
And this will just happen without kind of us worrying about it. Of course, those workflows can be redefined. So we could maybe try to send SMS message again before making a call. But this is very, this kind of happens out of the box, and it's very easy way to have a.
Yeah, it's just one less thing to worry about.
Yeah, exactly, like a backup. Yeah, it just happens. So now we did it. So now we basically created those endpoints. So let's see if this is working. So okay. So I will try to. I will connect my phone, so you can see some stuff that may not be intended to see. Slash demo things will happen. So first I will connect my Android phone. I'm using this tool called Screen Copy.
Okay.
Which basically displays the desktop of my phone. So if I'm using my finger and playing with my phone, you should see it here.
Yeah.
So what we will do, we will hit the first endpoint, verify phone number with different phone number. Like that. Oops, we broke something.
Do you want to hide your phone number, Igor? Do you want to take the screen off for a sec?
It's development number. It's fine.
All right, great.
So we start our endpoint. We hit the first verify number endpoint. So we got this request ID back. In the meantime, I should be receiving SMS message from Vonage. So you see it on my phone.
Success.
So this is verification code. And as you see already, like this also kind of supports the language. So it knows that we are sending SMS to Poland because of the 48 direction number. So that's why it sends me the SMS message in Polish language. So we have this verification code that we received, which is 9514, and we have this request ID. So now we'll hit the second endpoint, which is called verify code. We'll pass the request ID, which is I'm just copying this string from here. We will pass the code. What's the code again? The code was
9514.
9514. Okay, let's double check if we have everything. So the code, request ID, let's check if the names of the variables are okay. The code, we get in the code. Okay, so we hit enter. We hit enter to hit this endpoint.
All right, moment of truth.
And we got the status okay, which basically means that our phone number was verified by Vonage API. So yep. So we are good here. So again, we are just building backend, but typically you would have a client application with with the button and everything, which would provide those data using UI for a client instead of just hitting endpoints like we are doing right now.
Right. Perfect. And you actually have a written version of this tutorial as well for anyone who would like to follow along with a written article. So I'll post that in chat, and it'll be in the description box for the YouTube video for this as well. Let's see, are there any other articles or any other learnings you think that would help folks that are looking to implement this that you haven't already mentioned? I know you gave some really great advice earlier too.
So definitely Vonage blog is worth checking out because we show a lot of samples like that in multiple languages using multiple technologies. So we have this series do something with something, do Y with Z or Y with X, I don't remember the name, but basically we use technology. Yeah, exactly. We use given technology to build given solutions. So you may have send SMS using Java or send SMS using PHP or something like that. So there's a lot of useful content there. But of course, you should be check. It's worth to check Kotlin documentation just to get the idea how to use the language and check the Ktor documentation to know how to build the server application.
Absolutely. And if you end up building anything using the ECourse demo from today, and you'd like to write an article on your cool project, please let us know. At Vonage, we have a developer spotlight program. So essentially, if you write a tutorial using any of our technologies, and we approve your idea and your post, you can get $500 for that post. And then we also shout out about it everywhere on our social media. It'll be living on our blog. We'll be talking about it with different developer communities. We do a lot of promotion too. So it's a great opportunity to be a published author if that's something that interests you at home. Perfect. Well, those are all the steps for this tutorial. So that's officially a wrap. Igor, thanks so much for taking the time to walk us through how to build a 2FA server using Kotlin and Ktor. This was really, really comprehensive and well explained. So really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope you to serve you well.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of folks trying this at home. And if you do end up having questions later on, Igor can be reached on Twitter or on the Vonage community Slack. What's your Twitter handle, Igor?
My name's Ron. It's in the description. But the Vonage community Slack, I think, is the best way to reach me because Twitter has some limitations if we don't follow each other. So Vonage community Slack or Kotlin Slack are much better places to reach me.
Perfect, and we've got a link to that over in chat and on the screen. And Dwayne says, "Great job." So.
Thanks, Dwayne. Are there any questions?
Yeah, it doesn't look like we have any questions in chat so far. I think you did a really good job detailing everything. But if there are any questions, please pop them in. We have a few more minutes, and we'd love to address those. I think Dwayne stuck with us throughout, so that's awesome. Thanks, Dwayne.
Yeah, it was an interesting journey for me because this was the first time I was trying this Ktor framework and more server side oriented things.
Yeah.
One of these kind of downsides of development is that technology gets more and more specialized, more and more complicated. So you became domain expert within Android, and there's basically not enough time to know everything about Android. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to move to server side or AI or cloud, there is not that much time to actually do things. So this is one of the benefits of being advocate. You can actually do it as well.
Absolutely. So what other tutorials can we look forward to from you, Igor?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, sorry. What other tutorials can we look forward to from you? Is there anything that you're planning on building, or is there something that you're looking to demo soon that we can look out for?
I need to discuss this stuff with my manager.
Okay, nothing that can be released to the public just yet. But definitely more Kate.
You know, the thing is that I wanna do a lot of things, right? But the time is limited, so we will see what will come. But in upcoming quarter, we should be seeing more tutorials and articles related to more like multi-platform in terms of using our SDKs and products like for close platform tools like sharing, making a video or audio call from iOS and Android using cross-platform frameworks like Flutter or React Native.
Great.
Like that. So
awesome. Well, that's very exciting. We'll definitely look out for that. Okay, so no questions just yet. Again, if you do end up coming up with any questions, please just message us on the Vonage Community Slack. It's linked in chat. I guess that's a wrap for today. To our viewers, thanks so much for tuning in and keeping us company. I hope you enjoyed the stream and we'll be leaving with some valuable takeaways that'll help with your next project. Lastly, be sure to give this channel a follow if you haven't already. And we look forward to seeing you back for another Vonage Dev stream tomorrow. We actually have 2 lined up. So hope to see you back for that. Again, thanks so much, Igor, for taking the time to walk us through how to build a 2FA server with Kotlin and Ktor. And hope you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice evening or have a nice day, depending where you are in the world.
Thanks so much. All right, bye everyone.
Bye bye.